I am bold,
talented, intelligent.
I am a trailblazer.
It means breaking through so many barriers as a Black woman and giving myself the chance to prove those who may doubt us wrong. And I think especially going to a school, there's such a dichotomy between like the university that is located in such a richly diverse city, yet that same diversity doesn't exactly exist at the campus and within the university.
For me, it's being a role model, at a university that doesn't have a lot of people that look like me, and have somebody they can look up to.
Was finding your home or being around people that are just like you, and for them to see that we're coming here not only studying but striving at athletics and being pretty successful at everything that we do.
I need to use my voice, my actions, my performance as a minority, that it weighs very heavily, and that what I can do and how much I strive to excel will really help those who come behind me.
So being Black at Fordham is just, beating those odds, beating the statistics. Of course, we may not see as many people that look like us, but we take these opportunities to, share information and like educate people on things that, we experience every day.
My voice being Black at Fordham now has grown into, there has to be more people that look like myself. Black women, Black men, other persons of color, they need to be in these predominantly white spaces so that our student athletes, like Coach Zach said, have someone to look to. And wanting to create a space where everybody feels like they can be there and it's not like you have to change yourself. Like that's my main goal for being here at Fordham and just providing a different voice.
And coming here, I wouldn't say necessarily it was a culture shock, but you kind of understand that it's different. Like you don't see many people like you can literally count on your fingers how many people you see on the daily that are Black. And my time being here, I've only had one Black professor, and that was teaching an African American Studies course, which is quite shocking. We don't feel like we're so much as coerced in the Fordham culture, and I think adding more professors, more staff, even students, just to raise the number and have people to talk to, have people to understand what you've been through, what you're going through, really gives you more of a sense of belonging, more of a sense of home.
Adding, professors, coaches, and other student athletes that look like me can just help me feel more of a sense of home here, and those who I can directly relate to. Not always being like the only one in a space, not always being like the only Black player on my team or the only Black student in my class, or just that, like as Ali said, that is an added pressure, regardless if you try to not allow it to get to you, but it does, because it automatically can make someone feel they have to act a certain way. They have to basically water down their Blackness.
For me, in my career path, there's certain things that I want to do. And if I'm going to a class and I see a professor that looks like me and is also teaching me something that I want to use in my career, it's like, okay, I can do that too. And
seeing that we have a Black woman who's an administrator, to me, is major, because I have never seen anything but white men in positions of power in athletics, which is wild because majority of our athletic populations across the United States typically have more Black and brown students than they do whites.
This is New York City. It's diverse. We got people that come from everywhere, of all different races, all different colors. But when you come to university, a lot of times if you're not on an athletic team, you don't see that diversity.
It's major to have representation and fill spaces with persons of color, especially Black people, for more exposure, because we've, as Black people, had to learn white culture, but they have not necessarily had to learn ours.
We say we're the school Bronx, but that makes us look more like the Bronx.
I know that some staff may sometimes may not know how to talk to us or how to interact with us as well. So I think as a whole, it would make Fordham's comfortability and appeal so much stronger. Being a large group, large quantity of Black people acting like themselves in all spaces. I want no fear or worry to come from, hey, can I listen to this music? Hey, can I talk to my friend?
Like with Kendall, for example, like we'll have our moments when we're like, connecting on a different level than like some of our teammates would understand. And like sometimes in the back of my head, I'm like, I feel bad, like, and I shouldn't have to feel bad, but I feel bad. I'm like, what if us feeling this way with each other makes other people uncomfortable, and like, I think that I would like for us to get to a place where, like they both said already, like just feeling comfortable and not like worrying about how other people feel about it.
That initially coming here, you kind of wonder about having to keep up a little appearance more than you have to. So I just want to just be able to see us be, of course, there's a lot more faces, but just be comfortable.
I own who I am. And I think that I really would love for everyone to feel that way, and not just people of color, but like, when we're around white people, like not feeling, intimidated by us or like feeling, any kind of negative way, which may be, subconscious and not necessarily intentional, but, just everyone feeling that sense of, unity that we haven't really seen before.
Effort to recruit and bring in more faces that look like me and the rest of us. And I would say if I come back, when I come back in the future, I don't want future student athletes to be the only one on their teams anymore. And across the board, not just the traditional sports that you see populated by, athletes of color. Something like an increased scholarship fund for athletes of color can help do so much. You probably can think of the sports that are very, very underrepresented by Black student athletes. And it's unfortunate because I will say it's not that we're not talented enough. It's not that we can't be here. It's not that we don't deserve it. There are plenty of Black student athletes that are out there with the talent, but maybe they just don't have the resources to get themselves here. Maybe they just need a little bit of help.
And I know everybody spoke about it. Role models, people they look up to. Hey, I got a professor. I can be a professor. My administrator is like, hey, you know what? I can do that. The president's like, hey, I can do that. Seeing people in power.
How can you seek to understand and accept somebody if you don't know their history? Throughout all the years, a lot of our information has been swept under the rug. We've been given, not to put any achievements down, but token Black people that everybody knows and understands. But we don't encompass all of that comes with Black culture, Black excellence.
So, of course, I learned about Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, but, there's a lot of people that, are very influential and like successful within, Black history that we never learn about. I scroll through Twitter and I find things on Twitter more than I did like when I was in elementary school and, high school and things like that. And I think that, even more than the history, just the excellence, because, there's a lot of hardships that, Black people endured. Like when we talk about slavery, when we talk about Jim Crow and, the civil rights movement, but we also we were also innovative and we also made strides for each other. And I think that, a lot of times that gets, left behind because we don't talk about it.
If you ever take the time to just look into it, and look up all the different contributions to art and music and science, you'll find so much more than what you thought you knew.
I would say Black History Month is so important for everyone to understand because Black history is what makes American history. Like it's not a separate thing. The contributions of Black Americans who helped build this country were not illustrated and not acknowledged in education. I mean, I remember just going through grade school when I was younger there's things that I should know about myself and about my people that were never taught to me, never put in books. Like, I learned these things from my family.
For me, it's Crystal Dunn. Crystal Dunn is a Black woman. She's a professional soccer player. And from when I was younger, that's like been my dream, is to first become a professional soccer player. And it still is, actually, aside from other things. But you know, when I saw her first play, I lived in Maryland. She played for the NC Courage, and there was a game against like the Washington Spirit. And you know, I went to the game, and I got to see her. I got to take a picture with her. And you know, that was my you know, representation right there. Like, someone is doing what I love to do, and she looks like me. As she's developed in her game, she's gone to England, played in England. She's came back. She plays for the U.S. national team. So she's, you know, making these strides, and she's doing it as a Black woman, and she walks in that. And even now, she's, you know, she's also taking a stand in terms of, you know, Black Lives Matter and diversity, and like, she's being that role model, and she you know, takes that responsibility seriously.
My biggest role model is definitely my grandfather. One of his favorite poems, called Invictus, the line says, "I'm the master of my fate and the captain of my soul." And I think he completely encompasses that, and I have really instilled that in myself, and that's become instilled in me, and I live by that every day. He never did anything necessarily for the applause, but he always did everything to better those around him. And that's what I want to try to do at Fordham, and being part of Fordham Athletics. You know, for those who look like me, who are coming behind me, whatever I can do just to make their experience maybe a little bit better, a little bit easier, is one of my primary goals.
Kind of like DeAndre, I mean, it's definitely my parents, hands down. My mom is a guidance counselor. She's been a teacher, you know, summer school principal. My pops is a former college and NFL coach. He's now in the school system, but from an early age, you know, I learned a lot about education. And then later on, I learned how to give back what I learned, which is really the number one thing that I try to do now. When I would talk to her, people would be like, you know, your mom did this. I mean, she's amazing, nicest lady ever. It pops, I mean, he went the extra mile for me. You know, I mean, it's not even just role models. I mean, they look to these people like superheroes. And, you know, to me, that's just mom and dad. I mean, that's who I see on the regular.
I am a mentor.
Compassionate,
Strong,
driven,
beautiful,
empathetic,
and present.
Black woman.
I am a phenomenal Black woman.